Is there a form of Reed Richards stretching that the trailers have not emphasized, something that might have even been done practically in some like is there a moment where like a stretchy hand reaches into frame to grab a mug of something and it's an actual just like it looks real?
What are the odds this is a Disney employee writing all of this?
I think what I love about this is like the type of people who get to see early screenings who write in this language for the first time are the same whether they're in the United States or in Brazil. We're all part of one world here. Everybody wants to be a cat. Welcome back to New Rockstars. Fantastic Four First Steps earliest reviews are in, and it is sounding good. But when the world has to choose between two movies centered around black holes in July 2025, who will win the War of the Holes? This is the Sneak Peek, the weekly show on New Rockstars where we look ahead to the future of fandom. I'm Erik Voss. Jessica Clemens is out this week. I'm here with Zach Huddleston.
Thrilled to be here, Erik. Thanks for having me.
Of course, Zach.
It's been a minute since I've appeared on the New Rockstars channel.
Yeah.
If you're not counting the most recent Rumor Rundown, which I am probably also appearing in.
Oh, but that's going to be in the future from now.
Yeah.
See, Zach's gone through a black hole already, and all of his timeline has gotten out of sync.
I'm time dilated, just like the Thing's beard.
But you've been on the Sneak Peek before, right?
No, this is my first appearance, I believe, on the Sneak Peek.
This is a Sneak Peek first here.
Yes.
Zach Huddleston. Wow. Well, welcome, Zach. We're so glad to have you here. And I think after people see Rumor Rundown, they're going to be like, wait a minute. Is Zach kind of the mediator between a divorcing Jessica and Erik? That's not what happened this week.
No. It's both Jessica and Erik are overworked this week. It is a huge week for us. It's a huge month. You both have no time. And so we split you up across the two shows, and then I am doing bad imitation of both of you across
Zach
those two shows.
is really doing us a favor by being on this show. But, Zach's seen Superman, right?
Yes.
So this is Superman weekend. But, on Sneak Peek, we're now after Superman. We're looking ahead to the future of fandom, Fantastic Four, and we're kind of in this middle road here. We got 2 weeks where Superman's going to dominate the conversation, but Marvel's going to try to force its way into that conversation with little promos, behind the scenes featurettes. Whereas, I feel like Warner Brothers blanketed the internet with James Gunn did everything. He said yes. He said yes to Rick and Morty. He put himself out there, and then the three in the cast, Holt, Brosnahan, and Cornsweet, were just everywhere. I think we're about to see Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and Evan Moss-Bachrach everywhere. But yeah, I think later in this podcast we'll talk about the Superman of it all and how we felt about that movie and how that might change some of our expectations for Fantastic Four First Steps. But I wanted to start with this this interesting fan review that was written by someone who saw like the first half hour, the first 27 minutes of Fantastic Four First Steps that Marvel put together as part of like a showcase in Brazil. I love Brazil, and I love how much like these studios are like, let's try Brazil first.
Well, it's interesting you say that because like in a lot of ways, and even like Netflix has leaned really hard into Brazil. Like they had the whole One Piece ship set up in Brazil.
Yeah.
It's become this like Lexus of fandom. And I think we could do a whole other episode on like maybe why that is the case. But like it's a gigantic country that's in the Western Hemisphere that it loves to go see movies and watch streaming series and all of that. But also like it's an extremely online fan base.
Oh, yeah.
Like when X was briefly banned in Brazil, it was like the traffic on that site like cratered.
Oh, wow.
And so like I think there is like studios know that like, well, if we can cultivate the Brazilian fandom, that will help us spread the word everywhere.
Yeah.
But,
And I think it's a comparable viewing audience to what you have in the United States. Just because a lot of people in the United States, it's not all white people who live in the US, and not all white people go see movies. Whereas if you like try to compare to the UK, it's just like a mostly white audience in the UK, and France, mostly white audience.
South Korea, right? Like a lot of other countries in the world are much more homogenous than our population.
Whereas Brazil and the United States are both very pluralistically diverse countries.
Yes.
So I think it's just kind of interesting to test and compare for studios to do that. But here is one person's account. And it's interesting because this is kind of like our earliest review. They were lifted from their fan reaction embargo. And this is not a spoiler from what I can tell. I read through it ahead of time. There's no spoilers in this, but it can just give us a sense of like what to expect, at least from the first act of this movie. Here's what they wrote, this Brazilian viewer. Fantastic Four First Steps. Before anything else, I should say that I watched about 27 minutes of the film. The scenes weren't shown in full. We saw various segments from the beginning to the middle of the story, but with many hard cuts throughout the screening. And obviously this was translated. I am not putting any kind of like filter on you. They didn't write it in English. It was translated from Portuguese. They go on to say, what was shown not only surprised me, it genuinely moved me. The entire atmosphere of this universe is unique. It's a real gift for the fans. Everything starts with an intimacy we're not used to seeing in this kind of movie. It feels like we're getting to know a real family with vulnerabilities, humor, affection, and purpose. The dynamic between Reed and Sue is one of the highlights. We saw a lot of scenes with the two of them together, and Vanessa and Pedro are totally in sync. They really feel like a couple who have been together a long time. Their relationship shows right from the start of this film is going to be about more than just superpowers. Ben and Johnny also shine. Each has a well-defined personality, and the chemistry between them works from the very first moment. The jokes land at just the right times, and you know how it is. Johnny being Johnny.
You know how it is.
I don't know how that is. We get solid context for how they got their powers presented through a talk show already shown in the trailers. The story has a family tone, and that becomes clear with the arrival of baby Franklin. This is pure Fantastic Four. They're not just facing a big threat, their family bonds are at the heart of the story. We saw the entire sequence of Shalla-Bal's arrival and how lucky we are to have Julia Garner in this role. She delivers an intimidating speech with a calm yet terrifying tone, and visually, there are scenes on an insane scale. The final sequence of the preview I watched is the kind that makes the whole theater hold its breath. The CGI, flawless. And the build-up of the danger feels real. You can sense the weight of what's at stake. The atmosphere is intense, and then suddenly, black screen, end. I mean, that's just what this preview was edited to be, but that's okay. Now it's just a few more days until we see the rest. So it's just kind of telling fans, July 25th, here we come. But they say some key points worth highlighting. Lots of scenes with Reed Richards and Sue Storm. The story seems to revolve around Sue and Franklin, but Reed is the one making the key decisions. As it should be in all houses. That's just weird.
Let Daddy cook.
That's a highlight. They mention that as a highlight. Like it's a good thing. That it's a paternalistic family structure. Shalla-Bal has some absolutely insane action scenes. This reviewer only writes the word insane in all caps. There's no lowercase insane, no lowercase i's. Get the hell out of here, dotted I. Lots of action with everybody using their powers. Even though the trailers hide it, Reed Richards does stretch, and it looks amazing. Okay. Each character seems to have an individual arc. Even with limited time, it's clear they'll all be developed. The setting visuals are incredibly immersive with great depth. Some villains appear, and others are mentioned. Comic book fans will go wild.
Oh.
Even with only a short preview, it's already clear that Fantastic Four First Steps is being treated with the care and ambition the team deserves. The film offers a new tone, a new way of telling the story. The feeling that remains is we're finally going to get a worthy adaptation of Marvel's First Family. End of review.
Huh.
Zach, I just realized you have been on New Rockstars channel recently. You were part of our very first reaction to the Fantastic Four First Steps trailer.
Right.
That early morning that we had in February.
Yes. When we watched the live stream from Huntsville, from the NASA location.
What an insane that day. And I started the day by spilling a Monster's energy drink can and it exploded. I didn't open it. It fell off a shelf and it rolled down our hallway and then exploded.
You got into the office 10 minutes before I did. I just walked into the office to wet streaks down the hallway. What happened
With
here?
smelling kind of that, what's that flavor that's in all guanine?
Taurine? Guarine or something.
Guarine that's in
like
all
that.
energy drinks. It just reeked of that in the office. And I was just like breathing in those fumes, getting contact highs, mopping it up from the floor.
At like 5 a.m. or whatever time it was.
5 a.m.
Yes.
Okay, so let's take this review apart and say this fucking shill needs to go to hell.
First things first, what are the odds this is a Disney employee writing all of this?
I mean, this type of language, and again, it is translated from Portuguese. The translator may have been
generous.
Might have been generous, might have used certain words, immersive, insane, amazing, that are just often used in these kind of fan reactions. And I think what I love about this is like the type of people who get to see early screenings who write in this language for the first time, hoping channels like New Rockstars read it, are the same whether they're in the United States or in Brazil. We're all part of one world here. this is why people think shills are paid.
Yes.
Or, I mean, this is why people call it shills and why they think fans are paid.
And
I don't think they were paid. I just think they loved it.
Right.
Yeah.
To the credit of this person, we know this screening did take place.
Yeah. It did
we know
happen.
there was a screening of a chunk of the early movie. So this person is not inventing this whole cloth. Though if you asked ChatGPT to write a review of the first 30 minutes of Fantastic Four, I'm not sure it would be different from what you just read. Again, not that this person's lying. All of this could be 100% accurate. It is just, here are the only two things that made me kind of question it. There's absolutely nothing is called out negatively in this.
Yeah.
And even I loved Superman, not to spoil our later conversation. I have a few nitpicks on Superman. Any 2-hour movie or even 27 minutes of a movie, there will be one or two things that don't work for you, right? And so it is a little interesting. They don't call anything into question other than there are some hard cuts and like clearly some things are not being shown. Right?
Yeah, which is more of a commentary on just like the format of the exhibition rather than what's in the movie. Yeah, put some dirt in Marvel's eye, my man. Like I want to know, like, ooh, I didn't get to see the moment the cosmic rays hit them. I'm mad about that. I want to know how.
And across Reed stretching across the Shalla-Bal action sequences, most people find like a shot of CGI that is a little questionable for them, or maybe a single line of dialogue that doesn't quite connect.
Right. Yeah, some kind of tonally weird thing, a joke that didn't land for you. Yeah.
Especially often in these early screenings, there are incomplete special effects sometimes, right? As you mentioned, hard edits that might kind of mess with the narrative cohesiveness. So all that is to say, I guess let's get to the body of this and like, because this does also jive with kind of other reports, leaks, whatever that we've heard about Fantastic Four, right?
There's a few things in this that I'm just kind of looking past the glowing reviews that you would just see replicated anywhere. And I think there are a couple things in here where I went, okay. So you did kind of tell us something about what you saw that I found to be interesting. The first thing is the Reed stretching. So like, yes, there's been a lot of commentary about how the trailers have not really emphasized how Reed moves using his elastic abilities. We've seen more and more of it as it's gone, but not to the extent of like Incredibles. Pixar's Incredibles trailers showed us Elastigirl's movement, and in doing so spawned an entire kink that has taken over some dark corners of the internet. But if you know, you sickos. I don't mean to kink shame. If you know, my brethren. But what I'm saying is,
I'm more into tomater /fic if we're going down that route. You know what I mean?
Wait, Lightning, can I push over one of them tractors for
hey,
you?
buddy, you need to be towed somewhere.
And then Lightning Queen just puts it in reverse just to get a look at that dump truck dump. But what I'm saying is that is there a form of Reed Richards stretching that the trailers have not emphasized, something that might have even been done practically in some like is there a moment where like a stretchy hand reaches into frame to grab a mug of something and it's an actual just like it looks real as opposed to just like a wide shot of him stretching? I want some like mid shot stretching, some close-up stretching.
The main image we've seen in trailers is kind of like him kind of jumping or falling and using kind of his legs to kind of brace the fall as he's kind of twisting through the air, which is a cool looking shot, but it is not a fight scene, right? Him reaching out to punch somebody from 12 feet away or whatever. It is, as you mentioned, it's not a gag either, which, I mean, his powers really lend themselves to fun gags. Right?
It's kind of even hard to notice because it just kind of looks like it's in a wide shot that is like showing a lot of things happening in it. And if anything, it looks like just a slightly warped shot.
Yeah.
And often in movement and wide, it's even kind of hard to tell what a normal shape of a human being should be. It's like contextual stretching. It's like normal Pedro Pascal, but then his arm is moving in weird places. I want to see the camera move to follow his like fist going over to move something on the other side of the room. I want to see like clever around a corner movement. What I'm referring to is like in Incredibles, right? Like the scene everyone remembers is when she's like caught between different doors. Like that was so clever. That was like one of the cleverest sequences in all of action animation. And we need to see something like that.
Do you think we even get, if they really go hard into his powers, like also referencing the Incredibles, like at one point she turns her body into a boat that her children can ride.
And a parachute, right?
Yes. Like, do we think we do something like that? Like he blankets somebody or parachutes himself or something like that?
We need to see him turn himself into a sail.
Yes.
I want him to turn himself into a sail that uses the power of the wind to move a boat.
Or like maybe baby Franklin in danger.
Oh, yeah.
Falls. He trampolines himself to catch the falling infant or something like that.
Daddy Richards turn his hand into a diaper for baby Franklin?
Right.
It just ties his fingers.
And just leaves it there to catch the poo of his son?
He's out of diapers.
Let him shit on the ground.
Like,
why do I need to catch it at that point?
Sue just walks in like, hey, I got diapers at the store. And he's like, just leave me.
Also, your hand's not absorbent. So it's just going to slip through the cracks of your hand.
He just keeps having to fan out his hand to make more room for it. This is disgusting.
Leave a comment. What's the worst possible use of Reed Richards?
And the worst possible use. I assume that's what this Brazilian reviewer is referring to, makeshift diapering. So there was that. And I'm hoping that, I think what he's referring to, honestly, I'm assuming it's a he. It might be anybody. The sequence that was shown at CCXP Mexico of them being on the Excelsior as Shalla-Bal is trying to phase through the ship to try to get through the baby during the delivery scene, we're told that there's some pretty cool movement of Reed Richards' limbs. And that is like kind of a close-up scenario that you can imagine, like, he's swatting away over here, moving these controls over here, adjusting this thing over here. And yeah, you can imagine hands coming in and going out of all directions there. That I think could be really fun to see a stretching ability.
And I guess like you mentioning that sequence, clearly in these screenings, they try to only show early parts of the movie to kind of keep like big chunks of the plot or how things resolve a mystery for all audience. They don't want to get that out. Like, based on this and what we know from earlier screenings, like, does that change how you were viewing what the perspective timeline of this movie is going to be? Like, especially in that first act, because you've speculated based on trailer footage and interviews and other videos, right? That like we might even open on the what's the name of the talk
Ted
show?
Gilbert show.
The Ted Gilbert show, right? Like they get their emergency calls on their little wrist things. They run out. That's maybe like an opening kind of action set piece against Mole Man or something like that. But now this is interesting. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is this the first we're hearing that maybe during their interviews on the Ted Gilbert show, we might see cut twos or flashbacks to
like
earlier
footage.
Parts of their history or other battles?
Yeah, maybe that is it. Maybe we see like footage, media footage of other times where they've done their heroics, and those are shown as part of like a highlight reel on Ted Baxter. I think that's what they're saying.
And like we know there's kind of like the pre-transformation NASA footage, right? That we've seen. Maybe that we also get that played to kind of show like, 4 years ago, you were just a couple astronauts. And then like, some kind of like a montage of like, you fought this villain and you prevented this disaster, all this kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we might see some, like the reason why maybe Marvel didn't have like a finished version of Giganto that they used for that Little Caesars ad is like that footage is only going to be shown small on like a screen on a TV set. So they just made kind of like a simpler animation of it. And we'll see like some, kind of peripheral footage of it from a different angle. But it's not like people had cell phone cameras, in this alternate universe. So it would have to be like some newsreel type stuff. But I do think, I don't know if they're going to get their wrist devices and go to Mole Man. I think that is the John Malkovich Red Ghost stuff, the Ivan Kragoff stuff. And I think there's going to be super smart apes in this scene. A
topic you're going to come back to later in this episode, potentially?
Yes, I'll come back to it. But they have now since re-added John Malkovich to the billing of this. He has not been removed from the movie. He will be in the movie. I just think it'll be a small role. I guess my question is, that was the other detail where I'm like, okay, you're telling us something here where they say some villains appear and others are mentioned. Comic book fans will go wild. If they've only seen the first 27 minutes of the movie, there could be other stuff that happens in the latter, 80 minutes of the movie. Who else are they referring to other than Mole Man and Red Ghost? Could there be Skrulls that are mentioned? Could there be Pharaoh Ramatut maybe mentioned?
More kind of fully CGI monster villain kind of things, right? Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. And I mean, if they're just mentioning, if they're just like running down a list. I mean, you could even throw in villains we know from our, the 616 MCU or whatever, right? Like that maybe they have encountered in their universe a Red Skull, a Zemo, or whatever. I guess it would need to be somebody that would have been operating in our world in the 60s. So maybe like more of a Red Skull type.
Like a Red Skull kind of makes sense. Red Skull just shot to the top of my list of like surprising cameos because it wouldn't, a lot of the biggest Marvel villains in the 60s, if they weren't adjacent to Fantastic Four, they were adjacent to Spider-Man. Yeah. And they're not going to have any Spider-Man villains in this. I don't think you're going to hear a mention of a Wilson Fisk or a Kingpin, right? So who does that leave? There were some Iron Man villains. There were some Thor villains, but a lot of that was like later 60s. Early 60s, it was like, yeah, you had your Victor Von Doom, you had your Skrulls. Like Skrulls were like in the 6th or 7th issue of Fantastic. So it wouldn't surprise me if like some of the Skrull leaders are mentioned, I don't think we'll see Skrulls. I think Marvel is like known that we're ready to all move on.
Yeah, this entire movie was filmed post Secret Invasion. So yeah.
I'll be curious. I feel like we might get a mention to Rama Tut. I think that would.
What makes you think that?
Just because that was such a big villain for them at the beginning, and it wasn't Kang yet. It was just Rama Tut. And I like. Do you think that would be too weird for Marvel to do after their like extreme pivot away from Kang and Jonathan Majors?
Do you think if we see an image of a Rama Tut, does it look anything like the Jonathan Majors depiction? I mean, it doesn't need to if this is a different universe, right?
Or is it like, do they recast Kang in this movie?
Ooh. Comic book fans will go nuts.
I mean, they just said we'll go wild. Wild can mean anything. Did we just stumble into the packaging for this video? Are they going to recast Kang in this movie because it's an alternate universe? I mean, there's a way to do it. The deal is, though, is that whoever Pharaoh Rama Tut is, it would have to be someone who is, like, technically, if they're going to stick to the truth of it, descended from Reed Richards and Franklin Richards. So you still could do that with anyone. What I'm thinking is like they imply that they've gone back in time in the past and they went to ancient Egypt and they leave it at that.
Ooh, yeah.
Because then it's like, then we'll make our videos about it, but like the movie doesn't have to deal with it. And if this universe ends, they never have to approach it ever again.
That's great. I like that. Yeah, that's a fun pitch. Now, do you think that sentence mentions some villains appear, some are mentioned, comic book fans will go nuts. Do you think there's an option that other heroes appear or are mentioned?
See, I don't think so.
Okay.
Only just because Matt Shakman has said these are really the only heroes in this universe.
Yeah.
Like the Fantastic Four are here, and I think he's saying like, don't keep an eye out for Spider-Man or Iron Man or Howard Stark or any of the 60s heroes. No X-Men are going to appear in this universe. And that's kind of what makes the Fantastic Four so special, is that really they're the only ones. It's going to feel like the way Marvel Comics felt in the Silver Age in 1961 before they started teaming up with Spider-Man and Ant-Man and some of the others. It really just felt like these are the only ones here. And then over time, they began to reach out, but it really just felt like, hey, we're trying something new here.
Yeah. There's also a cleanliness to that. If we know, like, this is the Fantastic Four's universe, then there's also an X-Men universe, then there's an MCU universe. So that when these universes collide, it doesn't feel as busy. Right?
Yeah. So I'm looking past just like the glowing reviews of this, of this footage and just trying to see like what actual new information we got from it.
I guess the other thing, and again, this person doesn't even know for sure that all of this footage is from the first 30 minutes of the movie, right? They mentioned like, could be a little bit from later spliced in, but like Shalla-Bal showing up that early in the movie. And we know from one of the most recent trailers that came out, when she delivers her speech, in theory, the first time she announces she's the Herald of Galactus, Earth is doomed, like Sue is pregnant.
Yeah.
Then the baby has not been born.
So we got to be a good ways into it. I think that's got to be like Act 2, like early Act 2.
Yeah, because we know she's going to announce her pregnancy. Then at some point later, once her belly has grown.
Visibly.
Yes.
So it's at least 5 months.
Yes. Then Shalla-Bal arrives. And then we know that the baby is born during the events of the movie, right?
So does Shalla-Bal give them like a countdown of like 4 months? Like just based off of the size of the bump, like... She's like, all right, we'll be back in 3 months, so get your affairs in order.
It's like a doctor being like, you have 6 months to live.
Yeah. Like you would think, like if you're the Herald of Galactus, you tell them maybe like, I don't know, 72 hours out. You don't give people a chance to come up with a plan.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, or is she just like, listen, Galactus is a long list of planets he has to eat. Okay, you guys are number 49 on the list.
Yeah, she's just like the hostess at BB's in Burbank.
Yeah, take
who's
a beeper.
just telling you, yeah. All right, you're on the list. Okay, it's gonna be another 45 minutes. Hope paying $32 for your green tea pancakes will be worth it. I'm throwing some shade at BB's. You just upped your prices, but the quality the same. How do you feel about BB's? I'm trying to force this down and talking about food.
This is such a specific reference. BB's.
I just used to love BB's, and then I looked at my bill. I'm like, $150 for 3 of those?
I mean, the entire brunch industry is a racket.
It is,
and it needs to be addressed.
Zach has like strong opinions about brunch and doesn't care for brunch. Just make your own breakfast. It's way cheaper.
That's right. Brunch by far the worst meal to eat out, in my opinion.
Also, if you're in the service industry, you hate the brunch shift.
That's right. Famously in his book Kitchen Confidential, Anthony Bourdain said that like a lot of the things served at brunch are left. Sunday brunch especially are leftovers from Friday and Saturday night that have been repurposed.
Yes.
Also, there's Brandon Barrick, also new Rockstars talent, loves to point out why I call it brunch. Is anybody ordering lunch?
Yeah,
most people just ordering breakfast, right?
Yeah. Well, some people are getting kind of their like avocado toast, which is at that point you're halfway to a sandwich.
But that still is breakfast. Yeah. Anyways, is anybody getting like, I'll just take the fried chicken, please, at brunch? You know what I mean? Bring me the lasagna.
I would like a Reuben, please. Like, wow, someone actually ordered part of the lunch side of the menu. So we will continue more in this discussion of like the cosmic directions this movie will go and how that can compare with what we've seen in Superman. But first, we want to thank one of our sponsors. So Sneak Peek is all about looking ahead and seeing what's next. Sometimes that means reading the MCU's tea leaves a little. But when it comes to food, it's a no-brainer. Later tonight, I'm going to be hungry. I'm gonna want something delicious. And after I get home, I'm not gonna have the energy for cooking myself. That's the exact reason I love Factor meals. Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating deliciously and eating well easy. They're dietitian approved. They're ready to eat in just 2 minutes. And Factor can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies and breakfasts, grab and go snacks, and more add-ons. And Factor takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success. You get to skip all the shopping and chopping and instead get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. Factor meals are always fresh, never frozen, and there are over 35 meals to choose from per week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan, and veggie, and more. The other night, I had the barbecue chicken breast and sweet potatoes.
Ooh.
Just the kind of perfect summer meal with just a little cheddar and a little broccoli on the side. It made broccoli edible because he put cheese on it.
Oh, yeah.
A way to a grump's heart. It was so good and it was ready in 2 minutes. Get started at factormeals.com/newrockstars50 off and use code newrockstars50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code newrockstars50 off at factormeals.com/newrockstars50 off for 50% off plus free shipping. factormeals.com/newrockstars50 off. Okay, so one of the things that this review description from Brazil didn't include is what has been described in other reviews of people who have seen some parts of this movie is how this movie is like a cosmic story, how there's some Lovecraftian elements from Galactus. So I have to assume that this, the hold your breath element that they talked about is like, oh God, they see Galactus destroying a planet. They're having to swerve through some of the meteorites and other debris of the planet. But this reviewer was just reacting to different things. What I found interesting about Superman, which spoiler warning for Superman, Zach and I have seen Superman. It's now opening weekend of Superman. Our review, our breakdown, our ending explained video are on the channel now. Superman gets interestingly cosmic in that we learn a lot about the Kryptonian race and their intentions for Superman, how they were more imperialistic than we've seen in other cinematic adaptations. Also, we saw a black hole in this movie, and what might be the future Bizarro got sucked into a black hole. it's just interesting now. We know Kevin Feige was at the premiere for Superman. Do you think he was sitting in that theater, looked up at the screen and saw a black hole and started shitting his pants?
I mean, there is a well-trod history of superhero movies kind of stepping on each other's toes and needing to edit out or change things.
Yeah.
Famously with Dark Phoenix and Captain Marvel.
Oh, right. Shapeshifters.
Right? Yes. They one of the reasons the villains are so generic and forgettable in X-Men Dark Phoenix is because they were supposed to be shape-shifting Skrulls, and those got used in Captain Marvel instead, and so they pivoted away and just made them.
They never named them.
No, generic Jessica Chastain aliens is what they became, right? Yeah. And so, like, you've kind of speculated that kind of when we thought John Malkovich was maybe being cut out of this, that the reason he might have been cut out, you mentioned this in a video, is if he is playing the Red Ghost, a character known for having like super smart apes as his henchmen. Maybe not super smart, but trained monkeys do play a small role in the Superman movie as a henchman to the main villain.
Right. Lex Luthor calls them his monkey bots or bot monkeys who write these negative tweets about Superman. And it's kind of James Gunn's veiled criticism, not very veiled criticism of these like angry people on the internet who are rooting for him to fail and saying horrible things about him that nearly destroyed his whole career in 2018. But that was a different camp. I think the Mike Cernovich-led alt-right trolls is a different camp than like the Snyder cultists.
That's right.
There might be some overlap, but very little overlap, I would say. I think all of these camps, by the way, there's no more than 2,000 of them. I think if you were to ask for a head count, if like all of our like devices would just vanish and then we could see kind of like a Mr. Beast layout of like the world's population. And if we would say, all right, Snyder cultists, identify yourself, raise your hands, and like little like pillars of light could appear on them, I think we'd be like, really? That's it? There's only like, because 2,000 people is a lot of people. If you get 2,000 people in like a convention hall or in like the Greek amphitheater in Los Angeles, it's going to feel like a massive group of people.
But when each of those 2,000 people tweets 42 times a day and maybe has a couple burner accounts that they're also tweeting multiple times a day from, it can feel, 2,000 can feel like 200,000.
It can feel deafening, especially if their entire digital life is centered around one message. It's going to feel like there's this entire movement. I think it's probably more than 2,000, but I bet it's under 10,000.
I think you're not wrong. I mean, even if you look at the daily average users on Twitter, it is a relatively small number.
Now, I know what you're going to say. The people who watched Zack Snyder's Justice League on Max were way more than that. I agree. I think a lot of people, myself included, were kind of happy to have that. It was cool to see. What I'm talking about is the years since. The people who think that this fight is not over.
The people who are trying to review bomb this new Superman movie just out of spite for a movie that came out in 2017, right? In weird defense of that.
In fact, I think there are more James Gunn cultists than there are Snyder cultists. I think you're going to see people who are like, anybody who writes anything negative about, James Gunn's movie, I think there's going to be a lot of cultists who are like, there's like cultists for all these tribes. So that's why I think the James Gunn cultists, though, are not toxic yet, from what I can tell, but they may be toxic 10 years from now.
Yeah. And nothing's a monolith. There's certainly terrible people in all camps, right? Or people that need to touch grass desperately. Not right now. Finish this video, then go touch the grass. But yeah.
I do think, though, what we were talking about is like the bot monkeys. Monkeys are not apes. They are different, as we know.
And these are definitely, in Superman, they are more on the capuchin scale. They are a smaller monkey.
Capuchin. I say capuchin. Have I been saying capuchin?
I'm almost certain I'm wrong. Yeah, I think you're right. Capuchin is...
Well, at one point, I went to the San Diego Zoo, to the enclosure where those types of monkeys are, and I asked the zookeeper, who was like there to tell me all about them, and I didn't ask them. They just started telling me facts. And I love zookeepers in general, but it's kind of like, maybe wait for me to ask you. And I was just trying to make conversation. I'm like, and aren't these the type of monkeys that were in movies a lot, like in Indiana Jones? And the person looked at me like they had never heard of the cinema art form before. They're like, movie? What is movie? And I'm just like, come on. If you're going to have people come to the zoo, you got to know what the cultural touchstones are that to relate with the rest of the world, nerd.
What's Ross's monkey's name on Friends?
Marcel.
Marcel. Yeah, he was a little Capuchin. Yes.
Capuchin. We're talking bad dates. The evil monkey that tried to. It was Snitch. It was a snitch monkey.
Yes.
Who snitched to the guy with the eye patch. Yeah. So apes. I think if they haven't, and we haven't seen any evidence of this in the trailers, I want to see a very large orangutan. Yes. I want to see a very large gorilla.
Yes.
A bonobo, perhaps.
Ooh.
Just have because Ivan Kragoff's apes are not it's not a swarm of them. It's just kind of a group of 8 to 10 of them. And there's one of each, and they're all very smart. It's like Planet of the Apes. It's not like monkeys jumping up and down on trees. It's more of there's a chimpanzee there.
Do you think we could see them with mind control helmets or some kind of diodes on their skulls or something like that?
I want to see them wear some helmets. I want one to be wearing a shirt.
Yeah, maybe a necktie. Are they gonna Pooh Bear it? Just shirts, no pants? Do you think?
Roller skates?
oh, roller skates! Damn, are they villains or heroes? Any bladers?
It's a skateboarder.
You think some bonobos might be on inlines?
Yeah. One's just sitting on a raft in a pool, where's my Mai Tai? No, I hope they don't cut him from the movie, and I hope they spent some of the VFX budget on just a fat orangutan, with just some saggy chests, and that's what I want more than anything for this movie. But I'm worried that they may have cut that out because they're oh, well, James Gunn had this big, super smart monkey joke. That was my fear. But now I've been reassured by the fact that Malkovich's name has reappeared in the marketing.
Yeah. And I think especially if he's part of just an act one kind of villain montage, or even if he is the main antagonist in that opening set piece, but the vast majority of the movie is going to be dedicated to Galactus, right? It feels like there can be some overlap there.
Do you think Malkovich will have his, who's the name of his character in the Matt Damon movie? Rounders, where he's
the Russian or whatever. Yes. He's always got the Oreo.
Yeah, that's right, the Oreo.
Or do you think at some point when he's got his apes, maybe they're sitting around the lair and he's just talking and he just pulls out a ceramic gun? I built it to kill the president. Right? And then just a long arm just comes out of nowhere and punches him right across the face.
Do you think we get 25 minutes of this? Of just him sitting around a table playing poker with his apes?
That's the post-credit scene, isn't it?
I would love
that. Him dead serious. Hardcore Steppenwolf trained thespian John Malkovich having to act off of his super smart
His agent is look, the role as described, he's what is this movie for? Now I can't do non-Russian Malkovich. How does he talk again?
Malkovich famously, he's kind of in the walk-in school of erasing all of the punctuation in his scripts,
yes.
right?
Uh-huh.
What you don't understand is, or what I'm putting an accent
Reed
with
Richards. I do not accept your terms of surrender. I don't know.
Oh, that's a good Malkovich. That's a good one.
You know what I'm doing is Bill Hader's Italian character in SNL's impression of John Malkovich when Malkovich hosted SNL. One of the best episodes from 2008, and you should watch James Franco's documentary about it that he made for his NYU Film School thesis project called 8 Days Till Air or something like that. Because everyone shows up in the background. That was when Simon Rich and John Mulaney were writers for SNL.
Oh, wow.
And they have the jacuzzi sketch, and I believe it's a sketch. There's it's a Will Forte sketch that got cut. It got cut after Dress the 800-588-2300 Empire, and it was the audio booth, they were trying to record that, and he's just doing it over and over again. Anyway, I think you can find it on Hulu. Anyway, back to Fantastic Four versus Superman. Do we think that there's going to be some discourse over how both of these movies have black holes in them and have these kind of hey, they both watched Christopher Nolan's Interstellar at the same time when it re-released in theaters in the past 2 years, and they're let's do our in-universe version of that.
Well, here's what I'll say. If they do, having already seen Superman and making some big assumptions about Fantastic Four, there is a black hole in Superman that is kind of a scary thing you might get sucked into. The repercussions of getting sucked into that black hole are not really explored in Superman.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. It's touching.
Yes, and it's that is a bad place to go, but we don't see what happens on the other side of that. Whereas don't you feel if that is explored in Fantastic Four, the repercussions of it whether that is what transforms the team into their powers, if that's what leads them into our universe or whatever, that is going to be a much more important part of the plot.
Yes, I think that's a good point. The Superman film, like black holes, are almost inconsequential. It's just like a pit that you could fall into, but you don't. Now, my theory has been that we're going to see what happens on the other side of that black hole in future DC movies. Like, James Gunn has an opportunity here. In Superman, you do see, again, we said spoiler warning for Superman already. You do see a character fly into that could become a Bizarro in the future. You could see the cubic Earth, and I just think the fact that there were cubes of the anti-proton stream that were going in there, Bizarro's Earth is a cube. It's a cube. It's called Hitre because it's Earth backwards. It's completely silly, but like you could establish an alternate universe on the other side of that black hole, and I think if James Gunn, there's so many weird cosmic bullshit that James Gunn set up in Superman, and I'm so excited. The fact that this is a universe where teeth hit a camera, like this is going to be weird. It's going to be so weird and wacky, and I'm so here for it. Like, I want to see what like Supergirl does. Like Millie Alcock's Supergirl at the end, like just how Tanya she felt. Like that felt Craig Gillespie, right? Like
the
you could
tone
get that.
of that character, I was not expecting.
Yeah,
and it is delightful, and it's like, what does a feature-length film built around that character look like?
Oh, I mean, they're doing the right thing by taking Tom King's Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow because it's like a true grit. It's like a cosmic true grit where she's partnered with this younger character who's on a vengeance quest, and she narrates it the way, like, you know, Scout narrates To Kill a Mockingbird. Yeah. It's like from another character's point of view of this kind of like mysterious hero. So it's kind of a team-up story in that way.
But if the Rooster Cogburn is like a drunk party girl is kind of wild.
So I didn't get drunk party girl.
Or not, I don't want to put drunk, but like the kind
she
of
was
character.
Drunk.
Yeah, and he said that like she liked to go to Red Sun planets because you can get drunk there. Yeah. And she literally says, "What did she say? Later, bitch." Right? Like she has that vibe.
Yeah. What I got, like there were some early leaks of Superman from people who saw it at a test screening who called her a drunk sorority girl, and I'm like. You just got sorority from the fact that she's thin and blonde and white. Not every thin blonde girl is white. You just haven't met enough women in your life if you think every drunk female is a quote sorority girl. What I got from that is like, oh, coming out of IO West on Hollywood Boulevard at 1:30 at night on a weeknight, and there is some like a group of drunk people who come out of one of these other weird clubs on Cahuenga who are just like, who look like they could beat the shit out of me.
Yeah. They've lived some life. Yeah.
They're covered in tattoos. They're on their way into whatever the weird Joseph's on Ivar is that's going to be open till sunrise. And they know about all the after party, after party. Like there are lots of people who are just like, they get more physical and they're like, let's go. And they want to wrestle with you in your backyard after they drink. And that's what I got from Kara Zor-El. I did not get sorority. Sorority drunk. We lived in Gainesville, Florida. We've seen sorority drunk too, and it's a completely different flavor of drunk. It's like saying frat guy drunk versus like tailgater drunk. It's not exactly the same thing.
Can contain multitudes, and like, and I think also this will be a 3D character that like will not all be saying the word
she
bitch
will sober up at some
drunk.
point.
Yes. But I like that is like, what a fun and unique way to introduce us to that character. It kind of reminded me of like when a director or a writer really has fun with the Harley Quinn character, right? Like James Gunn did in Suicide Squad, right? And like use her for like fun set pieces and just like an attitude while also having her be very badass and deadly, which like obviously there's the potential there for Supergirl to do that as well, right? Yeah.
I think Fantastic Four coming out at the end of this month will actually do favors for Superman. Yes. Because right now the conversation is all about Superman, comparing it to like anything else, comparing it to the MCU, comparing it to the Zack Snyder era, to the Donnerverse. And when Fantastic Four comes out, then it's going to be like, well, Fantastic Four doesn't do these things as well as Superman did. It doesn't use the same type of... It doesn't use IMAX as well all the time.
It's wild that these two movies are coming out 2 weeks apart. I mean, especially, so another thing, going back to this person who shared their experience at this screening, like how much they emphasize, and again, these feel like Disney talking points, but the chemistry and the family nature between the kind of core 4 cast members, where like that was definitely a big part of the talking points ahead of Superman, specifically the chemistry between Clark and Lois, right? And how it feels very real. The actors are doing a great job, and having seen the movie, totally agree.
Yeah,
they have great chemistry together. They're 2 of the strengths of the film, and like I believe them, right? And so it's interesting that like. And lots of movies are built around the chemistry of the cast. And like Thunderbolts was certainly felt like, there were some elements of that there too. But it's interesting that 2 movies back to back are kind of steering hard into that, the kind of relationships at the core of all the fantastical stuff.
The difference will be is that the chemistry for Fantastic Four is among 4 superpowered individuals, whereas the chemistry elements between Clark and Lois were in some of the quieter moments of the film that I loved. I loved both of the extended scenes between Clark and Lois, but it didn't require Superman to be Superman in those moments. Whereas we're going to need to see the chemistry in supernatural forms in Fantastic Four. We're going to see, and we gotten a bit of it in the trailers, like we have like a weird baby bird that's just trying to get in here.
Is there a bat in the studio?
Please let me in and feed me worms. There's the shot of when Johnny Storm is on Ben's back. It says, say it. And I just saw that on a big screen as a trailer for Superman this week. And I was like, that's really fun. It is fun to see him like screaming his like, say it. I don't know what's going on in that moment. But I hope we get more moments like that. Like in the process of them doing crazy things. Like I want to see what Reed and Sue's chemistry looks like when Sue is invisible or projecting an energy shield while Reed is stretching around doing something else.
And I think something that the Fantastic Four marketing has tried to do, I think even more than the Superman marketing tried to do, is we did not get a ton of the, I guess there were the early trailers for Superman that showed the interview sequence between him and Lois a little bit. But I don't think the trailers really steered too hard into their relationship. I think the movie does a good job of showing it, but I don't think they were trying to market that as hard. Whereas it does feel like the marketing for Fantastic Four is trying to show us these unique personalities, the family nature, how the personalities work together. And I'm interested to see what it feels like when I get 2 hours of that.
Yeah.
Versus these snippets of like, okay, I get Johnny as kind of brash, puckish, kind of bro-y or whatever. That's hard to communicate in 4-second snippets, right? But like, if I get to spend some more time with him, maybe I will understand that better. And the same with like Ben, who like, the main beats we get of him is like, I don't want to say my catchphrase and maybe like a little like grumpy or whatever. But I think like spending longer with them and getting that fleshed out, I'm really interested to see then how the dynamics feel. And certainly then when those characters are in danger or they need to do things for each other, like how our heartstrings are tugged, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and the baby being there is just going to bring a different side out.
Also, like, do we know how good an actor that baby is?
I'm connected with a relative of the baby on Instagram who has DM'd me things about the movie.
Okay. Can we see a reel?
No.
Do we know? Is this baby Juilliard trained or?
Do they have it? Yeah. Do they take classes at iOS? You should. It's a great training center.
Slate. Now roll over. Okay.
So coming up this week on New Rockstars, I don't really know as of this taping, but we'll have some good videos. What questions do you have about Superman that you want us to tackle with videos? But the week after, it's going to be another huge week. I will be seeing Fantastic Four First Steps at an early press screening on Monday, July 21st. The reaction embargo, just social media reactions, lifts at like 10 p.m. Pacific time. So that's when I'll tweet.
The same night?
Yeah, same night.
Wow.
They're not giving us much time.
So you can, as you walk out the theater, you can probably
You'll really get my out of the theater reaction there. The review embargo is the following morning. Oh boy. How am I going to do all this? I got to figure this out. Anyway, our review will come out on the New Rockstars channel the next day. And if you will be attending San Diego Comic-Con in San Diego, I'll be there.
Hey.
So come find me. I'll be wearing probably a black shirt and shorts like this. And I'll have a badge on. There will be times where I'll be wearing a mask, but that's only when I have to get from A to B real fast and I don't want to talk to anyone. If I have a mask on and my head's bowed, don't talk to me. Or I don't care. You can come talk to me anyway. I'm a loser.
White guy in a black shirt and shorts is a real, at San Diego Comic-Con, is a real Where's Waldo kind of situation. Right?
You know what it is?
Can you pick Erik out from all the other guys?
It's Marvel Studios' equivalent of like wearing a hat just at a crowded place. I'm going to blend in. I will be like Drax. You will not be able to see me. Let's end this episode of Sneak Peek as we always do with an episode or with a segment called What We're Watching. Zach, what have you been watching that's not related to all this nerd shit?
I've been in a zone for quite a while, with the exception of like an Andor or an Ironheart. I'm watching almost no episodic streaming or broadcast television. I'm only watching movies lately. And we're both fathers of very young children. As my daughter, she just turned 3. She's now able to kind of sit for the most part through a film. And so, whatever, we did the Paw Patrol and the Bluey and all that kind of stuff, but I love movies. And so I've been introducing her to more movies. And specifically the kind of the niche we found is Disney films from the 60s and 70s.
Ooh.
So now that's an important, like kind of mid-period.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the famous 90s, kind of golden era movies, the villains are too scary for a 3-year-old.
They get scary.
She can't do an Ursula or a Scar or a Jafar. And the old era, the 40s and 50s ones, like they're almost 100 years old. A lot of those just haven't aged as well. Also feature some scarier sequences or whatever. So like we don't do as much of the like Snow White and that really, Pinocchio and stuff like that. But the era that is Robin Hood.
I was going to say Robin Hood.
Aristocats has been a delight. 101 Dalmatians, right? Like the first Rescuers film. Oh, yeah. Like for the most part, the villains are not as scary. They're a little sillier. And man, like what I really love about them is the music in that era. I mean, Robin Hood is more of a full-blown musical, but like the other one's not so much, and certainly much less than kind of the golden 90s era when the characters are belting, right? Like it's a little bit more background music or like incidental music, but a lot of it is like very jazzy. And scat-ish in kind of an
everybody wants to be a cat.
Yeah. I mean, it's delightful. That's Scatman Crothers. They got on that. And Phil Harris is the voice actor who plays Baloo the bear in Jungle Book. He plays Little John in Robin Hood, and he is the Thomas O'Malley, the main like alley cat in Aristocats.
Okay.
This guy who you wouldn't recognize him. I think he's long dead. But like if he walked up to you, even in corporeal form, you would not recognize him, but he was dominating in the 60s and 70s on Disney. And so like, I've been absorbing that. They're so fun. Some of those, I'd never seen Aristocats until recently. Are just a delight.
Yeah,
they're also all like 76 minutes long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Easy to knock out in one sitting. Fun, goofy.
I mean, that's just like a long episode of Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah, right. So that's what I've been watching mostly lately.
That sounds fun. I'm looking forward to that phase with my kid, where we can just start with the shorter films.
We've tried a few times to take her to a movie theater. We're not there yet.
Okay.
About minute 45 of the live action Lilo and Stitch, we're just running down the aisles. We're like, ready to go. It's like, okay, we got a little time left. Yeah.
I in between watching everything, I've seen Superman a few times this week, so I haven't had much time, but I finally got to the end of Game Changers, the season of Survivor Game Changers. John warned me. I started out this season being like, wow, Sandra's back, Tony's back, Cerie's back, Ozzy's back, all my favorite players. That has, to date, the most frustrating thing that's ever happened on Survivor. And I turned to my wife and I said, I might have to stop watching this show.
Wow.
They completely robbed my favorite Survivor player, Cerie. And if you watch Survivor, you've probably been waiting for me to get to this moment. It is the most bullshit season. Now, Zach, you know sports. You know who Brad Culpepper is, right?
Yeah.
He, for whatever reason in this era of Survivor, is someone that they're like, sure, you can come back as much as you want, Brad Culpepper. He and his wife compete in multiple seasons of Survivor, and neither of them are good TV. I don't care if you like Brad Culpepper. He and his wife are like boring, and they're not nice. And maybe they just get mean edits, but like Brad Culpepper is just like a asshole in Game Changers, and he seems like he might be a nice guy off camera. And Reddit, everyone's like, no, he's actually a really good guy in real life. But it's just like, well, then why does he go back on Survivor where he's like taking someone else's spot for $1 million? And he makes it to the final in one of the seasons, and it's like, why doesn't he just tell everyone like, hey, if you vote for me, I will donate all million of these dollars to charity? You're a millionaire already, my dude. You played in the NFL. You should have been able to invest the money made in the NFL and other businesses. Why do you need to be on Survivor? And in fact, I think every celebrity who they get on Survivor, they should say like, hey, it's like Celebrity Jeopardy for me. I've picked a charity. That's who I'm going to give it to. You should not be trying to line your own pockets if you're already that wealthy. And I would put that threshold on every person who's a millionaire on the show. Shireen is an unknown millionaire, but she is a millionaire. Like, you should have your tax returns that you have to present to CBS. And you should say, like, if I make over a certain threshold, I don't need this million. You get some other people who are like blue collar folks who are like, I'm a fisherman. Like, they need that million.
Now, are you drifting in concept towards a more Squid Game model where only people that desperately need the money should be competing for the money?
I would say, like, it should be a mix. It should be a mix of like lower class and middle class. But what's really hard is when they're very low class, it becomes a little too heartbreaking. I'm like, oh, you really
they needed this so bad. They were putting all their eggs in this basket.
Too sad.
Yeah.
Like, there should be some other kind of show that you could do that just kind of helps you build a business or something. Like, you should get Gordon Ramsay or John Taffer in there to help you like build your bar or your restaurant. Like, Survivor is just like, you could get really hurt doing this show and get flies eating you for 29 days, 29 days, I think we'll be going to soon. Anyway, some bullshit game mechanics happen in Survivor Game Changer when it comes down to 6 players, where specifically like a lot of people play their immunity idols at once, and there's some other bullshit fine print that happens, and it just leads to a player who gets voted out despite no one voting for them. Like, no one cast a vote for them. Yet, because there's no one else to vote for, CBS is like, whoops, we put too many immunity idols in play this season, so this player who should have won the season goes home. My hope is that behind the scenes, they gave this person like a hush-hush payout. Like, just pretend like you're okay with this. We'll give you a
promise to come back or some kind of a make good.
Something like that.
I will say, I have not watched Survivor in a number of seasons, but I'm a big fan of The Challenge on MTV. And there's similar mechanics there. It's voting out, it's competition, whatever. And it's a constant source of frustration. The shows feel the need to constantly change their formulas, their structure, the competition or whatever to keep it interesting and to evolve, especially as people learn the existing system from being fans of the show before they're then participants. But inevitably, as you're trying to invent a brand new sport every year, there are a lot of flaws that rise up, right? And how the contests are executed, how the rules are enforced, if just things play out in a pleasing or an unpleasing way. I mean, to extend your metaphor, professional sports have that problem too.
Yeah.
They change these rules because it's like, oh, the quarterbacks are all getting hurt. We need to protect them. But maybe there's unintended consequences of now it's too hard to play defense or whatever, right? Like, I'm the challenge is constantly facing that problem of like somebody figures out how to hack the game and it turns into a boring system. So they then engineer everything to be completely different, but then that maybe has other problems, right?
They're all responding to like, I mean, the Game Changer season, they made it so that you can't use tiebreaker votes strategically. It was just a whole thing. Like, people would try to flush out immunity idols by splitting votes. And so if things ended up in a tie, you could kind of force out an immunity idol that way and then do a revote. And then so CBS is like, oh, we're going to stop that. But what that did is that made idols way too powerful. And then so they all made it to the end, and then one person got screwed over. And then out of nowhere, started the next season, just like, the ties are okay again. Like, it's just so abrupt. So anyway, I'm getting to the era of Survivor that I'm nervous about, where everyone tells me it's trash, and it's the COVID eras, and I'm not looking forward to it. But I'm going to try to finish by the time season 49 happens, because I got to watch my buddy Nate Moore compete.
Wow, that's right.
Yeah, and we're going to potentially do like some Survivor content on the Danger Room.
Yeah.
That's our audio only podcast subscription service through NR Underground. If you want to support that, we're only just doing it just because, like, maybe there are some of you who stick around late into these sneak peek episodes, but we just want to see if, like, are there enough of you who like care enough about Survivor? Because we're not a Survivor network at New Rockstars, but there's enough of us that watch that show, so we might do it there. But yeah, we'll do some. We'll see. We might do like a season 49 preview or something like that. Like, can Nate Moore win Survivor? Can Nate Moore go from leaving Marvel to...
I might... You think obviously you've watched all the seasons in order. You think I can jump in and just watch season 49?
I bet you could.
Yeah.
I want everyone at New Rockstars to watch it.
I'm down.
Because John and I will be watching it. Abby has been making her way through seasons. I don't know where she is, but I think there's enough of us who do. We'll just make everyone watch it. We'll put it up on all the TVs in the background of The Office.
Required viewing. Yeah.
All right. Well, Zach, it's been great talking about Fantastic Four and Superman with you. Thank you so much for coming on Sneak Peek. Thank you all for watching. Go to nerdriot.shop. We have some really, really cool Superman designs like this Doghouse of Solitude design. Doghouse of Solitude. It's so cool. You can grab this at nerdriot.shop. It's a great way to support us. Subscribe to all the channels on the New Rockstars network. If you can, we'd love your support through in our underground. You can follow Zach at
Nope.
Nowhere.
You can't. No social media.
Zach has left social media. You can't find him.
Talk about a red ghost.
But what you can do is find him on the Break Room and hopefully future episodes of Sneak Peek.
Yeah.
You can find me at EA Voss. I should leave social media, but I'm too busy getting all that clout. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.